City of Oakland charges $1,500. City of Long Beach, $469. City of Inglewood, $350. Carson, $600. Santa Ana, $635. Riverside, $350. Murrieta, $350. The fact of the matter is that the City of Los Angeles, even at $250, is well below the average in our region, and we need to get with it. So the point I'm trying to make is, all you have to do to attain full cost recovery is to staff up, to increase the enforcement, not limit it. And if we come back with the same, if we do nothing and we come back next year, we're going to have the exact same dilemma with the CAO saying, well, we don't have the justification. Well, of course not. We didn't staff up. So how can you get to full cost recovery? 100% of this money can be dedicated to this purpose. That is the principle of full cost recovery. I think we need to do it. At $200, we're not accomplishing what we need to. At $251, I don't think we're going to accomplish it. $300, frankly, isn't going to do it either, but $300 is better than $250. It will allow us to increase our enforcement on this particular program. Kids start smoking young. We need to increase the enforcement services to ensure that retailers take us serious and voluntarily stop selling to minors and check their ages when they walk in the door. That's what this is about. It's not a question of full cost recovery. It's a question of how aggressive we want to be in reducing the impact of tobacco in the City of Los Angeles. I urge you to support my motion.
Councilmember Parks believes it's important that we stay legal, and the full cost recovery depends on resources the state provides.
If we raise the fee to $300, we do get the same 900 inspections. The state has to provide the resources. We can only assess the number of resources to get the full cost recovery. So it's not driven by the value of our permit fee. It's driven by the resources that the state puts in that we can recover. And so I think it's important for us to stay legal because, as you know, we're constantly being tested about full cost recovery and what it does. We can't use the fee to penalize the vendor or the store. We can only look at what the state provides, use those figures that the CAO has come forward with, and get the full cost recovery. If we raise the fee to $300, we get the same 900 inspections because that's the amount, the maximum that the state employees can do. We'd also put ourselves in legal jeopardy of raising the fee above full cost recovery. I think as we analyze this year to year, what our movement should be is to accept the fee at $251 and make a concerted effort between now and next year or in the interim is to see if the state will add more resources. Once they do that, you can then get more recovery for that. But we as a city do not dictate the number of resources, nor are these city employees that we're getting the full cost recovery.
No other speakers, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, the first vote before council would be on the Alarcon-Rosendahl motion to go with the original ordinance that had the $300 fee.
On that matter, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
9 ayes, 5 noes.
Thus, Mr. Alarcon's amendment passed on a 9-5 vote. 12 votes are needed for an ordinance to pass on the first reading, so this item will again be in front of council on October 1st, when a simple majority of 8 is needed for it to become law. Also on Tuesday, a report from the Energy and Environment Committee concerning the formation of oversight committees to monitor programs administered by the Department of Water and Power was before council. Councilmember Jose Huizar talks about the Low-Income Lifeline program.
This item here is a response when we did the rate increases for water and power that we have oversight commissions set up, citizen oversight commissions that will keep an eye on how we're implementing some of those expenditures, including a Low-Income Lifeline program oversight committee, which is important to ensure that we do our best effort to enroll as many people as we can in the 15% discount that is available for people who qualify and for people who would need to get some help with the rising energy costs. I'd also like to mention that I have a motion before our committee that will look to seek and establish an ombudsperson that will also work with these independent oversight committees and the City Council so that we are spending our dollars wisely and that we are moving in the right direction to get the right type of information when we have to make these very difficult decisions.
Having questions as to how the Department of Water and Power plans to do more and increase outreach to low-income ratepayers, District 4 Councilmember Tom Lavange calls staff to the center table.
It was you heard what the council said. What are you going to do? There's a table right there.
Wendy Yancey, Water and Power. As it relates to the low-income program outreach committees or the committees, the citizen committees, the CLA has made a number of recommendations that DWP will actually participate by basically facilitating as almost as a secretary to the committees, agenda setting, making sure that they receive information that they can ingest in a timely manner, receiving, helping them with meeting locations, etc., distributing materials, preparing reports, and then also interacting with the other city council committees as it relates to our progress, as it relates to obtaining more low-income customers and the programs, making sure that the programs receive the proper outreach, etc. This also applies to the power reliability and water improvement programs also.
Well, this is so important because I think it's very important your agency continue to push out. You do engage with people. You do the basic service of water and power, which is so important to a community.
Madam Clerk, please open the roll on this item, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Thank you.
A report that was considered for information only brought several people forward to make public comment about cable franchising and public access on cable.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is David Hernandez, and public access is a very important issue for the residents of Los Angeles. I believe the first time that I visited a public access studio was I was a panel member with Councilmember Gruhl and was introduced to the public access system and the value as an asset to the members of the community that wish to speak about land issues, lighting issues, crime issues, the Bradley landfill, the Sheldon Arleta landfill, the Handsome Dam, equestrian issues. Public access is vital for members of the community to not only speak their mind, whether for or against a particular issue, but also to educate members of the community. During the 2 years that I was a producer for then Adelphia, we were able to reach out to many members of the Latino community in Sun Valley and Pacoima and speak about issues with regards to public health and regards to education. What is seemingly about to happen at the end of this year with the possible closing of all public access stations by Time Warner and no plan in place by the City of Los Angeles other than to receive the 2% franchise fee, we are in a real danger of losing a vital public asset. This is something that is very unassuming. However, once it's gone, it's going to be gone. And so I implore on members and your members of the committees to be very diligent in setting in place a policy with regards to replacing those public access stations that will be closed.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the eyes of the nation are upon you. In Washington, D.C., actions are starting to be taken to oversee what's happening to our public access channels. Legislation similar to what was passed in Sacramento, authored by Fabian Nunez, that changed the way public access franchising is conducted and gave you in the cities the responsibility of taking over the operations of these public access facilities. It's up to you now. And Los Angeles is once again on the forefront. They're all watching how you handle this. As a longtime public access producer, we've provided a platform for the news behind the news. Many of you have been on our programs. We talk about things that just simply don't get covered in the regular news media. But more than public issues, we are here in the heart of the media, Hollywood. many of the producers and people involved in the media use public access facilities to express their creative ability, their talents, and also to communicate in the community. I would just like to say that next month, full disclosure, will be meeting with visiting Russian journalists who have come to our country to find out how our system of communicating works. They will be visiting the offices of the Full Disclosure Network, and at that time, I will have to explain to them what the future of public access is here in the United States of America.
Stating that he has always supported public access, District 11 Councilmember Bill Rosendahl expresses his opinion about special interest and says the cable companies got what they wanted from state government at the expense of the people.
I totally agree with you folks. Let me tell you, just from the heart, I was a cable guy for 22 years. I supported public access. I considered it the electronic soapbox and the First Amendment rights. A lot of cable people didn't like it because they didn't see a buck being made at it. I saw a buck being made because it distinguished us from the satellite. It was a unique product. Plus, more importantly, the people own the airwaves, you know? Not the broadcasters or the cable casters. But that's all been gone because special interests manipulate the process. The broadcasters were able to take away that fairness doctrine in Washington. That's why the only way the democracy works now is 30-second soundbite news junkie garbage that you have to represent your candidates. It's terrible. They should open up those airwaves during an election process for people to participate within it and learn. Same thing with public access. People own those airwaves. Well, we know what happened. Sacramento cut the deal with the phone company who didn't want to go through this franchising process, didn't want to help be accountable by local government on customer service or public access. So the cable industry did the same things. Me too, me too. So they all got what they wanted at the expense of the people. It is a terrible day when the new year begins, that public access is pretty much destroyed. My only suggestion is that Channel 36 somehow, since we control that placement, get involved in public access. A block of time would go to public access, and that 1% money should somehow be put in a way in which we can have at least one studio, if not more, where public access producers can do it. I might also say personally, I had 700 public access producers who produced 3,500 shows, and I am as upset as you are that once again the strangulation of the political process has happened and we're all in trouble because public access is almost now finished.
Also standing in support of public access, District 3 Councilmember Dennis Zine says there's been an erosion of the process.
I think that the FCC, the federal government, they took away the editorials. We used to have editorials on television and radio stations, and we've seen how the news has changed. Unless you have cable, you're really not going to get much. You may have some local news, but basically you're going to have a cable and pay for the cable operation to have that. If you have Dish or something else, you're not getting the local Channel 35, the broadcast here in City Council. So I see it eroding, and I know that there was a strong lobby, a lot of commercials, support this, support that, and we see what's happening with the cable industry. I totally support the full disclosure as well as the public access. And Time Warner devotes a lot of time to public access. They now control this region, and they're very generous with that. But it's an erosion of the process from the editorials that used to be around. No one has editorials anymore. The news operations and the radio stations have been dwindling, some non-existing. The stations that are now buying up other stations where you have the same news team on both channels, it's an erosion of that, and the information is now being reduced. So whatever we can do, I will be supporting that, and I'm sure Mr. Rosendahl will lead that charge. But you have a very valid point, and if we look at what's happening, it's continuing to float away. And I want to commend you on your program on full disclosure and the fact that you received an Emmy. I know that you had a large brunch Sunday, and by the time I got there it was over. Nevertheless, do support what you're doing, and I was unaware that this was taking place at this great momentum. So I'm sure many of us will support whatever we can do to save it. But the state's taking it, the Fed's taking it, and they're really walking on over the local agencies and the local jurisdictions. So I do support you along with my colleague Bill Rosendahl.
That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you.
Item number 69 was a reward motion submitted by District 8 Councilmember Bernard Parks. Before giving us the details of the motion, Mr. Parks offers an update of a previous reward.
I'd like to make a comment. We often have a lot of these reward motions, and we never hear the results of them. But on September the 16th, we had a family here, Mrs. Butler, that came to tell us about her young child that was kidnapped, and we approved a $25,000 reward. We got a notice just this morning from the Belize police in which they have found the daughter. They have apprehended the suspect, and if everything goes well with the embassy there, that Mrs. Butler will be traveling to Belize to pick up her child today and return to the United States. So that's a positive. For the item 69, we'd like to have a renewal and just ask for public support. That we had a 15-year-old that was the victim of a homicide on June the 10th, 2007 at 4:10 p.m. His name was Rodney Elijah Love. He was fatally shot while sitting on his bicycle in the driveway of his residence while talking to some of his friends. The shot came from the front passenger of a dark-colored sports utility vehicle driving westbound at 80th Street and Harvard. The suspects fired several shots, striking the victim in the back and killing him. We'd ask for public support and also a $50,000 reward, and also any information to Detective Ritt, R-I-T-C-H, at 213-485-1383, which is South Bureau Homicide.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on that item, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Again, if you have any information about this crime, please call South Bureau Homicide at 213-485-1383 or 311, your one call to City Hall. LA City View is the government access cable channel for the City of Los Angeles, featuring live coverage of City Council meetings and programming about City Department services and events. Now, if you have suggestions or comments about any of the programs you see here on Channel 35 or would like to receive a free viewer guide, call our viewer hotline at 213-473-3978. And we invite you to address the Los Angeles City Council on any item on the council agenda, as well as during public comment. You may come downtown to City Hall or go to the Van Nuys City Hall and participate via video teleconferencing. And remember, you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings, also beginning at 10 a.m. Council Week in Review can be seen Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Well, that concludes our program for the week ending September 26th, 2008. On behalf of Marlene Crump and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Jack Popejoy. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
Después de que ocurre un desastre, tal vez no le sea posible confiar en lo que ya conoce de su hogar. Tal vez tampoco pueda confiar en su perro Lazarillo. Lazarillo podría estar lesionado, atemorizado, confundido, nervioso o desorientado. Esté preparado para calmar a su perro y mantenerlo apartado y atado con la correa o arnés. Si usa bastón, recuerde tenerlo a la mano para que le ayude a lidiar con situaciones peligrosas y con obstáculos. Mantenga uno cerca de su cama y de todas las salidas, así como también una correa extra para el perro. Asegúrese de que su perro tenga el microchip y de que su licencia y placa de identificación tengan información vigente. Los perros lazarillos pueden acompañarle a un albergue de emergencias. Así como usted necesita un kit de emergencia, necesita tener uno para su perro. Asegúrese de tener suficiente agua, alimentos, cualquier medicina que puedan requerir y un botiquín de primeros auxilios. Una colcha o tapete y un juguete favorito pueden ayudarlo a calmarlo también. Tenga listo el nombre y número de teléfono del veterinario en el kit. Es posible que le exijan el récord de vacunación. Solo usted sabe qué lo puede preparar y ayudar tanto a usted como a su familia en caso de un desastre. ¿Está usted preparado? Para mayor información, por favor, comuníquese con el Departamento de Discapacidad o el Departamento de Administración de Emergencias del Ayuntamiento de Los Ángeles al llamar a los números en pantalla o al 311.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Thank you to Council Members Alarcon, Gruel, Labange, Reyes, and Zine for being here. We are awaiting the rest of the council members to constitute a quorum and to begin. So if we can have the other council members who are expected today to make their way into chambers as soon as possible, we will begin our meeting. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council meeting for Friday, October 3rd, 2008. We are here in the Van Nuys City Council chambers, where we come the first Friday of each month, and we do that in our efforts to bring City Hall closer to all neighborhoods here in Los Angeles. I'm City Council President Eric Garcetti, and I've been joined this morning by my colleagues Richard Alarcon, Wendy Gruel, Tom Labange, Ed Reyes, and Dennis Zine. As is our custom, we begin our Fridays with some special presentations in honor of important dates and people that have helped the lifeblood of Los Angeles. Before that, I just want to welcome our viewers as well on Channel 35, which is the LA City View channel throughout the city's cable system, which broadcasts all of our meetings live and also rebroadcasts them in the evening. We also are available online at lacity.org and through your phone at 213-621-CITY. You can listen in on your phone, watch on the computer, or on the television. And you can always go find our past meetings archived online at lacity.org as well. Our agendas are available online and here in council chambers. Anybody who would like to be heard before the council need only fill out a card in the back and hand it to one of the sergeants at arms. We'll be sure to include you in today's deliberations. And with that, I'd like to recognize our first presentation while we await a quorum. We're still awaiting Mr. Cardenas, Ms. Hahn, Mr. Huizar, Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Weiss, and Mr. Wesson. But first, let us recognize the pride of the San Fernando Valley, Councilmember Dennis Zine.
Well, thank you, Council President Eric Garcetti, and I welcome our Valley residents who are here for our first Friday of the month meeting here in the San Fernando Valley at the Van Nuys City Hall. I have a very special presentation to make today, and if the folks from the Butterfield Overland Mail Stage Coach come forward, please. 150 years. I thought you'd have cowboy boots and stuff on.
That's October 19th.
October 19th. Okay, I'm going to let you explain all that. Well, we're doing a presentation for the Butterfield Overland Mail Stage, which was delivered in the mail 150 years ago, and it's the anniversary event. Campo de Cahuenga Historical Memorial Association is joined with the California State Parks, Los Encinos Docents, Tarzana Community and Cultural Center, the Calabasas Historical Society, the Leonis Adobe Museum celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Butterfield Overland Mail Stage in San Fernando Valley. And this dates back to 1858. The stage left St. Louis on September 16th, arriving at Campo de Cahuenga on October 7th. Changing horses at Campo, they immediately departed for the San Fernando Mission, a journey of 15 miles, and then an additional 8 miles to the Hart Ranch. After this historical feat, the eastern and westbound service began on a regular basis to deliver mail. Now you look at mail service today with the internet, it's amazing how long it took to go from St. Louis to the west coast here. Celebration will be held across the United States and will culminate in the end of October. This presentation is bringing honor and commemorate the 150th anniversary of the stage line, and they are going to have a stagecoach travel down Ventura Boulevard, travel through the western San Fernando Valley, and there'll be celebrations along the way. The Tarzana Community Center is one of the locations, so we invite the public to come out, and I'm going to have the folks that are actually putting this together forward to give you the information. October 19th is the date of the celebration here in the San Fernando Valley, and we invite the public to attend. I understand I will be on the stagecoach,
yes,
traveling down Ventura Boulevard with a police motorcade, waving and having a good time. And this is a historical event, 150 years commemorating, and I'm going to bring the representatives forward to give information about the activity taking place on the 19th and how people can participate. Gentlemen.
Councilman Zine, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm Duke Perrin. I'm the president of the Campo de Cahuenga Historical Memorial Association. As you probably all know, or maybe you don't, but you will, Campo de Cahuenga is an important historical icon to the city of Los Angeles. And we are happy to join with the organizations that Dennis Zine just mentioned. And we're going to send the stagecoach 18.9 miles down Ventura Boulevard, which is the old El Camino Real, to Calabasas from Campo de Cahuenga. We'd like for everybody to join us. We'll be running through not only Dennis's district, but Tom's district, Wendy's district, and Jack's district as well. So we'd like to have support from the entire council, but especially from those 4 council people. I'd like to introduce our chairman of our board, Guy Whittington McCurry. Guy? Thank you.
Very good.
What a great historical event when we go back in time, because this actually brought from St. Louis to San Francisco, mail and people and whatever, and later gold and money and everything else as things developed. And this was only good for a short time because of the Civil War. But mainly that uniting this country. California really into the Union. We were connected across this country, which in itself. And we'll be meeting between 9 and 10 on the 19th at Campo de Cahuenga. There'll be a slight breakfast there, and then the stagecoach will start its long, long ritual up the way, along the way. It'll stop at Rancho Los Encinos. It will also go on to Tarzana Community Center, and then finally we'll end up in Calabasas at the historical site there. So join with us and have a great day celebrating a great historical event from the Campo, which in itself is a great historical site. Bye.
That's a Sunday.
Okay. Again, it's a Sunday, October 19th.
October 19th.
And we're going to start Cahuenga
At 10 o'clock.
at 10 o'clock in the morning. It'll travel down Ventura Boulevard, and it'll culminate Leonis Adobe, which is adjacent to the Sagebrush Cantina there at Valley Circle. But there'll be a nice procession down. So check with the different venues along the way. And we want the public to come out and view this 150-year-old. The stagecoach is 150 years old, I understand.
The stagecoach and the 4 horses.
And the 4 horses are 150 years old.
Absolutely.
This is going to be a very historical event. And there'll be old guys on it leading the charge.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That'll be it.
Okay.
Denny, I just wanted to compliment you for honoring this program. It is going to be a fun day. I'm excited about it. Campo de Cahuenga is a very historic spot, as well as Leonis Adobe, and all in between. Leonis Adobe, as you know, is the #1 historic monument in the city of Los Angeles, which showed the vision of the then Cultural Heritage Board when they, I believe in 1964, started the designations. With that being said, it's going to be a great day to come out and show people how people traveled in this country. And also, as you mentioned too, and Duke and Guy mentioned, if you look at the San Gabriel Valley and if you look at the San Fernando Valley, the difference as far as communities, it goes back to the history, as you know, with the railroad, even after the express and the stage. The railroads had station stops throughout. It wasn't until much later years after the Santa Fe connected to the Southern Pacific connected through the San Fernando Valley and the difference that all made in our history. Thank you all, especially Duke and Guy. And also, Guy, thank you. I don't know if we paid you or not, but I was driving in Wendy's district this morning on Whitsett, and I saw that beautiful new fire station that you fought for. I believe that was your property the city bought for. Did we pay you for it?
Yeah.
Fair and square? Fair and square. Okay, good job there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. I look forward. Can I ride with you on the stagecoach, Mr. Zine?
Well, we can put you and Tommy, and we'll just put everybody on there. Stagecoach carries a lot of people, so this will actually be fun, traveling down Ventura Boulevard in a 150-year-old stagecoach with 150-year-old horses. This is going to be an experience.
And how old are you, Mr. Zine? Because you're the oldest of the three of us.
I'm getting there.
He's half as old as 150.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. First order of business?
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Wesson moves. Mr. Rosendahl seconds.
Next is commendatory resolutions for approval.
Those will be approved.
Madam President, would you like to go through public comments?
Let's go through the agenda first.
Okay. Items 1 through 12 are items noticed for public hearings. Items 1 through 6 are street lighting items, and a recommendation for council action is to continue the hearing until October 24th.
The hearings will be continued till October 24th.
Madam President, sorry. Item number 1 has a card.
Okay, we'll hold that one on the desk.
Okay. Items 7 through 12 are street lighting ordinances. The recommendation, Madam President, you should have 12 soon. Would you like to hold those on the desk?
We'll hold those on the desk.
Okay. Next are items 13 through 15, and those are items which public hearings have been held.
Okay. We have a card on item number 15, but you said these have already been held?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Any specials, items 13 through 15? I'm sorry, which item? 15? We're not there yet, but when we get there, we'll call 18 special. Item 15 by Mr. Weezer. Any other specials on items 13 through 15? Or 13 through 14, actually? If not, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item?
Next are items 16 through 18, and those are items which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. And, Madam President, there is a card on item number 18.
And Mr. Labange has called that special. So, on the remainder of the items, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Next item?
Next is the special meeting. Would you like to recess the special and call the roll for recess to regular?
Yes.
Okay. Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. First order of business?
Item number 19 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. And, Madam President, there is a card on 19.
Yes, so we'll call that item special and adjourn this meeting and continue this to the regular meeting?
Yes, and that brings council to items called special.
We'll go back to our presentations. Next is Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Alarcon.
Well, good morning. It's very much my pleasure to make this next presentation. As you know, once a month we try to recognize some organization that is doing something great for child safety. I role model this after Herb Wesson's adoption of animals program, and I thought, what could I do? And that would be child safety. So we've been recognizing different organizations for doing some great things. And we've come across an organization that is doing some very good things that we were not aware of. and it's very pertinent in today's world. So I want to start with a little anecdote that is related to the Metrolink accident. One of the people, when I arrived, one of the people that I was able to help was a teacher from Sun Valley Middle School, and he was obviously going to be in the hospital for a while, and he is, I don't know whether he's back, he might be back later this week, but he was not able to teach because he was going to be in the hospital for several weeks. So I promised him I would go visit his students and tell them that he was okay, and he did a great job in terms of being humble as a victim and hoping and urging that other people be cared for who had greater needs. So I went to tell the kids what a great teacher they had and how much he cared for them. And he was a special ed teacher, so it was an interesting process for me to talk to his 4 classes, and they had many questions about the disaster, and of course the accident in particular, and how their teacher was doing, and many questions. And so it's interesting that the organization that we're going to recognize is an organization that has been promoting child safety information in the event of a disaster. And so I'm very pleased to recognize the UCLA Center for Public Health and Disasters, which has prepared a series of documents that help us educate kids and their parents and teachers and the like on how to work with kids in the aftermath of a major disaster. So it is a pleasure to have with us the person who is behind all of this. And interestingly, she lives just a couple of blocks from here in Van Nuys, but she's a professor of public health at UCLA. And so let me tell you first about what the Center for Public Health and Disasters does. The UCLA Center for Public Disasters was established in 1997 to address the critical issues when disaster impacts a community. Center faculty and staff have diverse backgrounds that include emergency medicine, environmental health, urban planning, engineering, international health, health services, epidemiology, gerontology, sociology, and community health. The Center for Public Health and Disasters is part of a national network of Centers for Public Health Preparedness, a program funded by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the year 2000. The UCLA Center, among many things that the center does, it focuses on children. The UCLA Center for Public Health and Disasters has produced Head Start disaster preparedness materials, but don't let that fool you. It is not just for Head Start, but preschool-type programs. And it includes how to identify potential hazards and resources, how to train staff and Head Start families on how to work with their children, build partnerships with other agencies in the community in the event of a disaster. And I have the preface. This is not a small document. This is a very healthy information piece. I'll show you 2 others while I'm at it. This one is for parents, and this one is for understanding the psychological impacts and how to respond to their psychological needs. So we are very pleased that the center is doing all this work, obviously in a city of Los Angeles where we've had numerous disasters and mini disasters where these techniques can be used. This has been a great contribution to us, and I think it's important for us to publicize it. I hope that each of our council offices will establish a relationship with the center and get the materials into your office, because I'm sure they will be very helpful to you when that time is needed. The center has also been actively involved in preparation and distribution of a program for parents to help their children in times of disaster. That's the one I mentioned. It's called Listen, Protect, and Connect. The program is developed by one of the center's faculty and has been adopted nationally by FEMA and the American Red Cross. And here with us today is the person behind all of this, Dr. Kimberly Shoaf. As I mentioned, she lives just a couple of blocks from here. and has been a resident of Los Angeles for 20 years. She is an associate director of the UCLA Center for Public Health and Disasters, where she has overall responsibility for the center's scientific research and training activities. She serves as both principal investigator and co-principal investigator on various projects in the area of disaster preparedness. Dr. Shoaf is also an associate professor in residence in the Department of Community Health Sciences in the UCLA School of Public Health, where she teaches a number of courses in emergency public health. Dr. Shoaf and Dr. Stephen Roderman, director of the UCLA Center for Public Health Disasters, were the two faculty members integrally involved in the preparation of the Head Start disaster preparedness materials. And so we want to present not only for her commitment, but also for UCLA's commitment and the entire system that is helping us gain information. You know, you don't think that the kids might need preparatory materials. You think that somebody is going to come in and help them, and certainly we wanted to do that. But if we prepare our kids, they are less likely to react in a way that could cause more of a disaster or more traumatic experiences. So the extent to which we prepare them will help us through the crisis. And so we want to thank Dr. Shoaf for her tremendous work at UCLA. Please extend that to Dr. Roderman and the rest of the staff at UCLA. As I've mentioned before, I go to the other university. I went to the other university, Cal State Northridge, and so I have no beef with UCLA. And so let me, on behalf of the City Council, present this to the UCLA Centers for Public Health and Disasters for helping our kids before they even know they need to be helped. And I know that the information that is here, those people who have been trained with it, those people who are informed by it, are better prepared to take care of our kids when that disaster hits.
Thank you. This is a great honor for us at the UCLA Center for Public Health and Disasters, and for myself, it's I'm especially pleased that it was here at this City Council Hall, where Councilman said, I live just a few blocks from here. It is so important that we look at children and not just wait until after the disaster happens, but really think about this beforehand, preparing the systems of care that take care of our children when we are at work, as well as helping us as parents to be able to take care of our children when something bad happens, because things do happen, and children need to know that. They're capable of understanding that. It's amazing sometimes how much children are actually capable of understanding. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Wiesar for our next presentation.
Good morning, colleagues and Council President. I'm very happy to be standing here today to congratulate the Italian American community and to celebrate Italian American Heritage Month. We are joined here today this morning by many distinguished Italian Americans, and I'm also joined up here by Council President Eric Garcetti and Councilmember Tom LaBonge to kick this very important month and event. We are joined today by a number of Italian Americans, including Joe Sorrell, Felicia Fasano, El Pueblo Commissioner, Nicola De Ejido, the Federated Italo-Americans, Linda DeCiante, the OSIA from Hollywood, Ann Potenza, San Genaro Foundation, Josephine Mahoney, Historic Italian Hall Foundation, Carmela Funicello, Los Angeles Ischia Sister City, Philip Bartonetti, Italian American Lawyers of Los Angeles, Mariana Gatto, Curator at El Pueblo, and we also have the distinct pleasure of being visited today by the Consul General for Italy here in Los Angeles, Nicola Faganello. Welcome, everybody. Colleagues and City of Los Angeles, we pride ourselves here in the City of Los Angeles with our diversity. And for the Italian Americans, they've been here for a very long time. And today we have the fourth largest Italian population in the United States. Los Angeles is a sister city with the Italian island of Ischia. And here in the Southland, many of them live in San Pedro, known here by Ms. Hahn's resounding applause right now. And they arrived here in the early 1900s as fishermen. And here at El Pueblo, in the center of the city of Los Angeles, the Italian presence began in 1823 when Giovanni Leandri, a native of Sardinia, arrived, opened a store, and built an adobe home. And now, today, our Italian Hall still continues at El Pueblo. Last year, the City Council committed its support of Italian Hall with some funding to reconstruct it, rehabilitate it, and ensure that it reopens again for the important culture center that it once was here in the center of Los Angeles. In 1900, in fact, Los Angeles boasted 2,000 Italians here in the city of Los Angeles, and the Italians owned or managed one-third of El Pueblo from the Hotel Italia Unita de la Sociedad Italia de Mutua Beneficencia. I think I said that correct? Beneficencia, okay. I get that. At the end, right? And by 1908, the Italian Hall was in construction on the corner of what is today Cesar Chavez and Main Street. And we're committed as a city to support the Italian Hall, to support Italian Americans, and to ensure that we continue this great relationship we have with our sister city. So at this time, let me now introduce you to our Consul General for Italy here in the city of Los Angeles, Nicola Faganello. Nicola?
Thank you very much. Grazie mille. I'm very proud and pleased to be here today for this very important celebration. And I'm very thankful, of course, to the councilmen of Los Angeles, to the city of Los Angeles, to all the councilmen who are here today, and also, of course, to all the great contributors of the Italian community here that made these things possible. Representing the Italian government, as I say, it's an honor for me to be here, and I'm very pleased that we are, working and cooperating very well with the Italian community and with the city of Los Angeles in organizing a lot of events on celebrating this cooperation and the history and the present contribution of Italians and Italo-Americans in Los Angeles for the future also of the city. We have a calendar of events going on in October, which is coming from different organizations, the government organization, but also the community together. That's the most important thing for me, to be able to work together with you and with the community and with the government of the city. So thank you very much. Thank you, President Garcetti, and thank you, the Councilman, for presenting this very interesting, very important award. And thanks again. Grazie a tutti. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will hear from our Council President, Eric Garcetti, and Councilmember Tom LaBonge. Council President?
Thank you. And thank you very much to Jose Huizar for being such a great padrino for the entire community in Italian Hall and doing such an amazing job at restoring something that we are very proud to have. That's right, Mr. Alarcon, a little bit of everything. We are celebrating here the contributions today of a great city and a great people within the city. My great-grandfather came from Napoli to Mexico and was a judge in the revolution there. And my grandfather lost him, unfortunately, to the revolution when he was 1 year old, and then came across the border with his mother and settled here in Los Angeles. I'm very proud of the Italian heritage that I have, and I know I joined 16 million Italian Americans throughout the United States, the fourth largest ethnic group in America. The Italian influence, though, in Los Angeles is very far-reaching. It's literally touched architecture and engineering, some of the great bridges and the buildings of Los Angeles, as well as the businessmen and women who have built this city have contributed to making Los Angeles such a great place. As we know, it was an Italian who first rediscovered the Americas when Christopher Columbus came over on a challenging journey across the Atlantic. But 300 years later, a very cohesive community that, unfortunately, in some ways, as it's become more integrated, has become integrated but less concentrated. So some of the places that we used to see downtown and some of the places we used to see in Eagle Rock, some of the real Italian neighborhoods now are more dissipated because Italian Americans now live everywhere instead of just together. But from the earliest days in El Pueblo, Italians have been a significant partner in the city's growth and success. Since 1823, when Giovanni Leandri opened up a general store and built his horn where the Plaza Firehouse now stands, Italians have had an enormous impact upon Los Angeles history and culture. So today we celebrate the life, the culture, and the influence, and especially the food of Italian Americans. I hope many people enjoyed San Gennaro Festival, which I was proud to have in Hollywood. I was actually in Little Italy in New York during it, so I missed it this year. But I was very pleased to be able to host it again this year, and it's a great celebration of Italian heritage. And if you allow me to try to butcher a little bit of Italian, Los Angeles è un grande città italiana, siamo fieri dei contributi degli italo-americani. Celebriamo tutti le contribuzioni degli italiani. And thank you to all the Italian Americans. And with that, we'll bring over Tom LaBonge, who is an honorary Italian and for many years served a great council president who was, I think, fully Italian, the great John Ferraro. Please welcome Tom LaBonge.
All right, thank you very much, Eric, and good morning, everybody. And Council General, it's great to have you, as well as all of the ones from the Italian community. And Jose, your leadership in your district, in all parts of your district, is outstanding, and what you're doing in the efforts in the birthplace of the city is so key, and the Italian Hall is so important, because everyone has a place in history. And unless we have knowledge of that history and let people know, it doesn't mean anything. And for the Italian community to be able to say the Italian Hall is important and get support from other entities, it is only going to strengthen the roots of the Italian Americans in Los Angeles. And I also want to thank Ms. Faticello, who is the president of our Ischia Sister City Committee. And her passion that she has, as Janice Hahn will tell you, as her council person, the passion. And going down Hollywood Boulevard in our Sister City float, no one looked better than you and your husband dressed in native dress and cheered out as much. So I say congratulations. I look forward to one day on Columbus Day. I would love to see a walk from the Italian Hall, maybe up to the Court of Flags or some connection to downtown, as we take and celebrate the Italian. Hey, what'd you say? East Side Market. Okay, that'd be good. Good. East Side Market. Good job, Eric. Congratulations, all of you great Italian Americans.
Thank you very much, Tom.
And Mr. Wiesar, we do have several council members, if this is the appropriate time for you to speak. Ms. Hahn, Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Rosendahl, and Mr. Zine.
Grazie. Buongiorno. Well, I'm just obviously standing to give my great support for our Italian American friends and for Italian American Month, Heritage Month that we're celebrating. It's great to see Joe Sorrell, Mr. Italia. If you've never traveled to Italy with Joe Sorrell, you just can't imagine. Everyone on the streets of Rome and Florence and everyone knows Joe Sorrell in Italy, and it's just quite an honor to travel with him to that country. But I will tell you, I have certainly a great love for our Italian friends in Italy. Carmela Funicello approached me many years ago and said, we need to have a sister city in Italy, and Ischia would be the perfect relationship between San Pedro and Los Angeles. We have probably, I always like to say, 40,000, maybe between 30 and 40,000 Italian Americans all living in San Pedro. And I will tell you, when you travel to Ischia or anywhere, they know of San Pedro. And they know of their family has come to San Pedro, so it's a great relationship. We formed that sister city a couple years ago. We had a fabulous celebration in City Hall. We had singers that came from Naples. We had the flag. It was really one of the most beautiful ceremonies that we've had, and we continue to have that great relationship between Italy and between Los Angeles and particularly San Pedro. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you for really being such a part of the fabric of Los Angeles. Our Italian Americans have contributed so much to really who we all are to this day. Your culture, your food, your music, it's all just been such a special part for who Angelinos have come to be. So congratulations, everybody.
Member, since we're in the San Fernando Valley, I thought somebody should stand up and talk about the Italian heritage of the San Fernando Valley, because a lot of people are unaware of that. But the fact is that 100 years ago, Italian immigration was huge in the San Fernando Valley. In fact, Mother Cabrini, who has been sainted, did a lot of her work right here in the San Fernando Valley, where she established centers for immigration help for the immigrants who were Italian. And so we saw many communities emerge with the investment of the Italian community. In fact, my father grew up in a tiny little barrio over here in North Hollywood called Orcasitas. But Orcasitas was an Italian who owned just about half of the San Fernando Valley and farmed it and ranched it and developed it. And so the impact of the Italians in the San Fernando Valley is very, very large and remains so. Even Al Capone had a house in Sylmar that is now a convent, there are still, Tony and I know there are still people out there looking for a tunnel that goes to the railroad tracks that hasn't been found. But I know that one of the things I did as a councilman was recognize the Moduno family, Frank Moduno, who had a distillery and bottling company where the early family used to produce olive oil and and wine and some other things. So the footprint of Italy and Italian immigrants to America is very large in the San Fernando Valley, and I believe that many of the successes that emerged out of the San Fernando Valley are directly come from the Italian community. So congratulations, thank you for being here, and we expect to have continued tremendous impact by the Italian community. Thank you.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, to steal Janice's lines, buongiorno and grazie. Buongiorno, hello to everybody, and thank you so much for being Italy. You know, Italy is where a lot of things happened on this planet. We all know way back when the Holy Roman Empire, and we know our history is rich. Every time I go to Italy, there are too many places to see, and I need to stay longer every time I go there. Florence is one of my favorite places, and Venice is another one, and of course Rome. Oh, my God. But, you know, I always have to now think of Joe Sorrell. I've known Joe for 30 years. He's my brother. We're very close. Joe all of a sudden became an Italian advocate about 15 years ago. And, boy, has he been the best. Now, we want to get that hall done over there, you know, and make it right. Joe's the first one to jump at it, and Jose Weezer, of course, is right on top of it. But, you know, for me, a Catholic boy, it also comes back to my roots of Catholicism and the Pope. I'll never forget when my friend was head of the Benedictines of the world, and the Pope and he were going down the stairs. What a big moment it is for all of us. So, again, grazie, thank you so much, and let's have a great month together. Thank you.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam President. Have they spoken about the Pico House yet?
Tomorrow.
No, have they spoken about it? Is that a secret?
No, we're going to talk about it.
You're going to talk about it?
Yeah.
I just want to mention that I stopped by there, and they have an entire area of the Pico House that's dedicated to Italy. They put the market, they put the vino, they put the cheese, and I want to acknowledge the staff, Ms. Gatto and her crew, because I was there to visit what they put together. It's absolutely fantastic, commemorating Italy and all the different aspects. And Jose, I don't know if you're Latino or Italian, because your pronunciation was magnificent.
Thank you.
I've had the privilege of visiting Italy, the architecture in Italy, the people in Italy, the food in Italy, absolutely phenomenal. And to the Consul General, your predecessor was married to a Lebanese woman, a wonderful man. I know he's been on a different mission, but this council, this body, this city holds a very, very close alliance with Italy and the Italian people. I also want to mention a man who I know who's in his 90s, Lindo Giacopose, who from Italian family and pioneered in the San Fernando Valley. He was a member of the police department for many years, still living, still vibrant in his 90s. But the Jacopuzzo family were dairy farmers out here in the San Fernando Valley for many, many years. But the Italian culture with the Pico House that's dedicated, and we'll hear from that in a moment, I invite people to go visit that. It's a wonderful, wonderful adventure into Italy, and the relics that they brought forward are just absolutely phenomenal. So I just want to acknowledge the Pico House that's taking place, and the Italian Cultural Hall, and all the wonderful activities, lasagna, pasta, pizza. No matter what it is, it's wonderful. It's Italy. It's the beautiful people from Italy who are warm and gracious. And you're not Italian, Tom LaBonge, and we don't need to see your Irish culture here. It's Italy today, and it's for the people of Italy that we celebrate. So congratulations, and Jose, your pronunciation's magnificent. And also the San Gennaro Festival. I went to the San Gennaro Festival. Wonderful, wonderful, with Jimmy Kimmel in the back lot at the Jimmy Kimmel Studio. That was another wonderful adventure in Hollywood, and a wonderful turnout. So to Italy, we don't say bueno. What's the word that we say? Buongiorno. Buongiorno? Buongiorno. Okay, buongiorno. Buongiorno. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Huizar to close.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from the president of the Historic Italian Hall Foundation, Josephine Mahoney. Josephine?
The first thing I want to do is just thank you all for your support of the Italian Hall. You just all are very, very special to us. And Councilman Huizar is at the top of the list. He is the councilman for our district, and he has been a champion, and we really treasure our relationship with you. Want to also, this is Italian Heritage Month, and we are starting it off with a bang. We have our exhibit. It is at the Pico House. It's titled Sunshine and Struggles. And it tells us about the first 100 years of the Italian experience. We have really a wonderful treasure of things for you to see, artifacts and displays. We've invited all of the councilmen, and you have your invitations, and we are also inviting the whole Los Angeles and Southern California community for our opening reception, which is tomorrow, October 4th at 7 p.m. And our exhibit goes from tomorrow until November 15th, so please come on by it, when you can. And we also want to recognize that Councilman Zine also is a supporter and has sponsored one part of our exhibit, and we want to thank you for your support. And we have and we'll pass them out. We have calendars of Italian Heritage Month, and it'll show you all of the many, many activities throughout the month, and hope that you can join us in some.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, today wouldn't be complete without hearing from Mr. Italy himself, Joe Sorrell. Joe!
Mr. Counsel General, wearing my Silvio Berlusconi tie, I'd like your permission to award every member sitting here today, every member of the City Council. One I did in person, Janice Hahn, but we're not in Italy. Everybody in this room is now an honorary member of the Italian faith, the Italian government, the Italian everything. This was Marian Gatto's idea, so I want to, again, thank you for today. Thank you to the Council General for being here. Good luck. God bless. You're all now members of the Italian faith.
It gives me great pleasure on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, this City Council, Council President Eric Garcetti and Tom LaBonge, to present to our Council General from Italy this resolution congratulating you on this Heritage Month, and that we have a continued strongly relationship as we've seen since the 1800s. Congratulations, and let's move forward together.
And Mr. Huizar, before we finish, Mr. Wesson has pressed his button. Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Madam President and members. I wasn't going to say anything because this is a very personal story, but when Joe Sorrell made us honorary members of everything that's Italian, I felt I feel compelled to just to tell you this true story. When I was a child, my grandparents and my mom and dad decided to send me to a Catholic high school in Ohio called Benedictine. And when I went there, it was at a time when there were racial problems. And I hadn't been, I think I hold the record. You okay, Bill? I think I hold the record. I was suspended after 11 minutes because a guy used the N-word and we got into a fight. For about 3 weeks, it seemed like people would pick on me every day. It got so bad that a friend of mine, whose father was a barber, gave me a razor. So I took a straight razor to school to protect myself. And the school is over, and the same group of guys who I would have to fight every day for like 3 weeks approached me again. And they called me names, goaded me on to see that if I would start this fight. I remember reaching in my pocket because I was going to use this. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was a group of guys that nobody messed with. They called themselves the Sons of Italy. Now, they had another name, but that was their official name. And this guy, who really didn't know me, but saw these guys pick on me every day, went up to this group and he said, from this moment on, this little so-and-so is an honorary member of the Sons of Italy. If you mess with him, you mess with us. That probably saved my life because I may have used that razor. I may have not had the breaks that I had. I never, ever had another problem again. Whenever we did have celebrate Italian History Month, I always sat at the table with my brothers. So I just want to say that it's great that we're celebrating this month. And Joe, when you said that we were honorary members, you brought back memories of something that occurred to me when I was 15 years old, which I think changed my life. So I just felt compelled to get up and to say something. So I'm glad to be an honorary son of Italy.
Thank you, Mr. Weston. Mr. Russo.
Just wanted to thank, of course, you for this proclamation, very important proclamation. As I said before, also thank the Italian communities in Los Angeles, San Pedro, for all the activities they are doing. And just to mention that, I mean, as we said before, Italian culture and also architecture, and this kind of Italian hall, for example, has been shaping Los Angeles in the past, but it's shaping also now. If you just think about the new Renzo Piano Museum in the LACMA Contemporary Art Museum, so from the past to the present to the future, it's in Italian architecture and Italian culture is contributing a lot in the image and in the architecture of Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
And one brief final note from Ms. Hahn. Your father, council member then, Kenny Hahn, commissioned, and we have Sal Nicolosi is here, his uncle, Joseph Nicolosi, a Sicilian immigrant, to be the artist to create the first 10 portraits in bronze for the Memorial Court of Honor at the Los Angeles Coliseum. So just one more example, and we appreciate the great contributions done there, too.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you very much. And before we go to the last presentation, if we could, Ms. Hahn is here, so can we go through the items that require 12 votes?
Those would be items 7 through 12, and those are street lighting ordinances.
Thank you. And unless there's any specials, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on items 7 through 12, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Those items are approved. Our next presentation is Mr. LaBonge after the picture is taken here. Oh, excuse me. Okay. They are, I guess, not having their presentation today. I'm going to call these individuals, and as soon as the picture is taken, we will have them come up for public comment. It'll be Chuck Tenon, followed by Donna Pearman. Then we will go out to downtown, Mr. Sachs, and then Frank Sheftel. That'll be as soon as this picture is completed. I mean, I don't. Thank you very much. If we could call up Mr. Chuck Tenon.
Madam President, council members, Chuck Tenon. People support your city council by speaking at public comment. They do listen, and it can work, and it does work. They encourage your ideas and recommendations on issues that need to be addressed, like housing and traffic, in the decision-making process. And I'd like to congratulations to Councilmember Janice Hahn for her formation of her new Watts Youth Choir and all of her hardworking efforts in creating new programs on gang prevention programs for kids in her district, like her fishing trip that resulted in a whole bunch of essays from the kids in the 3rd and 4th grade that the words are going to be taken. They had great ideas. The words are going to be taken, put into the creation of a song entitled Stop the Violence, We Can All Live in Peace, that will be packaged and produced as a tool to support youth programs in her district and in this city. It will be a powerful message through music to encourage gang prevention and more youth programs, as kids are the future of the city. When the lyrics are completed, if any of you council members and your professional music constituents would like to contribute in the production of it, it would be a collective effort and a great thing. And Councilmember Bill Rosendahl said to me that he wants to do a fishing trip for the kids in his district. I know he has a worthwhile project for the kids to do. Councilmember Bernard Parks liked the idea of kids 8 to 15 taking down the graffiti, and the kid artists that paint, that do tagging, to do murals instead, reward them with a fishing trip. And I commend Herb Weston for his support and interaction with Janice Hahn's Gang Prevention Task Force by sending a representative to be there. I think it's great. And also one final comment. I happen to be in the Department of Transportation building for some help, and I sure commend them. Not only are they nice people and do a good job in trying to make traffic and transportation in this city better, but boy, I'll tell you, they sure do a great job, and they sure give you the time of the day, and they're helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tennant. Donna Pearman. Are you ready, Mr. Labange? There was an error. I think someone told us you were not doing your presentation, so. Okay, sorry. Ms. Pearman, if you could, would you mind if you wait? We'll go to the next. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once you get comfortable right there. How you doing? Great. Hey, let's everybody get a big hand for Betty Wilson from our Department of Disability. Betty is very special, as you all know. She's worked for the city many, many, many years and was one of Tom Bradley's top advisors in years as it relates to disability and other things. And we're here today for Disability Mentoring Day. Since the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990, as well as California's disability rights statutes, more than 1 million people with disabilities have entered the labor force in our country and are contributing to the society and the fulfillment of America. That is so important. The generation of young people with disabilities are growing in Los Angeles, graduating from high school, going to college, and preparing to work in the workplace. Job seekers with disabilities, regardless of age, are striving to obtain economic independence through self-sufficiency and gainful employment. Both students and job seekers have the right to maximize their potential by making the most of their intellect, talents, and abilities in an environment free of physical, problematic, and attitudinal barriers. Disability Mentoring Day provides an opportunity for students and job seekers of all types of disabilities to gain insight into career options by spending their day in the workplace, shadowing an employee as he or her goes through their normal job. All this being said, it's very important that these efforts are made possible through a broad partnership between the American Association of People with Disabilities, supported by the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Empowerment and Employment, and a host of private corporations. This city of Los Angeles recognizes the enormous contribution of individuals with disabilities that have encouraged everyone to work towards their full integration into the workforce. We have a responsibility to reaffirm the determination to fulfill the letter and spirit of the full inclusion of the workforce for persons with disabilities by working to break down architectural, attitudinal, workplace barriers for employment which result in keeping the economy growing and making a lasting investment in the future. Now, Mr. Rosendahl, on this day coming forth, which will be Wednesday, the 15th of October, so we can plan for it, Disability Mentoring Day is hereby proclaimed by Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, all the members of the City Council. And Betty, we salute you personally for all the energy that you've given the City of Los Angeles and direction, but also we salute you as an individual for being the chief for Disability Mentoring Day. Betty Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you. I would just like to say that in honor of our people actually in honor of our Disability Mentoring Day and all the other things we do here, we also have our Accessible City Expo that's coming up October 8th at the LA Convention Center. And I want to thank the City Council members who have provided us with support in having this big 4,000 people at the Convention Center, both disabled and non-disabled, on October 8th. I want you all to come out because we have a huge crowd and a wonderful program with jobs, and Disney and Fox and all the big companies are also our partners. So I appreciate this honor today of even being recognized and hope to see you all there on October 8th.
Betty, thank you. And that's all employers. If anyone, employees are hearing this on our Channel 35, please call 311 and ask for the Department of Disability to get more information. Thank you very much. Big another hand for Betty Wilson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betty.
Councilmember Gruhl, I see you. There you go.
Mr. Zine. I just wanted to comment, Betty and I work together in the mayor's office, and she has been an incredible advocate since day one, and someone who has taken the city to task when need be, and also tried to provide solutions in ensuring that we serve the disabled community and to be at the forefront. And Betty, you really have been just a great part of this community and the city, and continue to do that. And I just wanted to say thank you. As I saw you walking in this morning, you are someone who taught me a lot about the importance of disability benefits, disability opportunities, and making sure that we were at the forefront. So thank you very, very much, Betty. Thank you, Tom, for acknowledging her in the mentoring program that you talked about this morning. Thank you, Mr. Zine.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, we're going to go back to public comment. Donna Perlman. Public comment.
I just want to make sure she gets back to her seat, okay?
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I guess already. Okay, yeah, I like to say that I now know that the City Council does a lot of frivolous and silly things. So since I'm not feeling well, I'm going to do a little song. I know the City Council can be frivolous. I know the City Council can be silly too. But one day I heard the council say, and they said, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang.
Excuse me, Mr. President, this could be deemed to be not within the decorum of the City Council.
I agree with that. Okay, your singing is going to cease, and we'll go back to comment.
Okay, then I'll say my...
there you go. You can say the words.
Okay, I know the City Council can be frivolous. I know the City Council can be silly, too.
This is not Star Search.
I know. Well, it's okay.
Okay.
I know the council said, and they said, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. At this moment, City Council wasn't, they weren't raising taxes, raising fees and raising fines. At the moment, City Council wasn't ruining our fine city, throwing all our money to CRA. I know the City Council can be terrible. I know the City Council can be awful too. But one day I heard Garcetti sitting and he said, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. When the council heard this, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know to pass the thing or not. Close the rolling tabulate the voting on her 12 ayes. Yes, they voted the silly thing right in. I know the city council can be horrible. I know the city council can be awful
Okay,
too.
all right.
Okay.
Finish your song
Okay.
and the words.
Anyway, what
and we
I
can
want to
move
say,
on.
as I see that, anyway, since you won't let me do the song.
I said the
see
words.
city, oh, yeah, okay, I know. The city council can be awful, too. And I heard the council, they say,
Okay, thank you. Your time is up. Arnold Sachs, please. Downtown, Arnold Sachs. Arnold Sachs and
I
downtown.
hear you, sir.
Arnold Sachs, you have the...
Yes, sir. Have you driven by the convention center lately to see the signage for the events, not digital? Multiple signs at the convention center. That was quite a coup that was scored for $2 million. You're absolutely right, Councilman LaBonge. I'm not a real estate agent and I'm not in advertising, but I know that the city got hammered on that. At least they didn't sign a lease with David Beckham's company, his subsidiary. You know that one, the one that's his Bend Over. Then it would have been Bend Over LA. I'd like to make a correction. I've come before the city council asking about where $35 million is going to, that's been allocated for the Mid-City Expo line. It's a $35 million total over the next 4 years. The 4-year allocations each year totals more than the $5 million that has been allocated to Metrolink for safety updates. It was amazing at yesterday's Expo Construction Authority. The chair actually had the nerve to ask somebody about their tax-exempt status on a report that they gave. And we're still waiting for confirmation of just what the Mid-City Expo line is. Can't get an answer on that. Half-cent sales tax coming up. Just for the news, this Metro just got a infusion of funding from the 1H proposition. Beware of the half-cent sales tax. There's no list of projects for the 1H proposition, except for $750 million for the 405 carpool lanes, which is going to go in
Thank you,
conjunction
Mr.
with the...
Sachs. Your time is up. Thank you. Frank Scheffler.
Thank you. It's Frank Scheftel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scheftel.
Thank you. Some of you know me. Some of you know of me. My name is Frank Scheftel. I lived in the Valley my whole life. I was born on Sunset at Kaiser Hospital. Went to Grant High School. Went to Valley College. I've run a business in the Valley for the last 20 years, the Candy Factory. Actually, 30 years this year we've been in business, which is great, and considering the climate. But one of the things that I'm here to talk about today is medical marijuana. And I know it's a very controversial issue. I was diagnosed several years ago with 8 bleeding stomach ulcers and was in the hospital for 5 days on a morphine drip. I lost 70 pounds within 6 months and was on an array of pills and was diagnosed and told that I should try medical cannabis, and I did, and it helped. It's really kept me alive. I have opened up a medical cannabis facility 2 years ago. I was the first one to open up in Toluca Lake, and we had tremendous support from the community. We run it according to the guidelines that the Attorney General Jerry Brown just issued, which is not for profit and giving back to the community, and certain guidelines which we have been from the beginning 2 years ago. We are a victim of the DEA's landlord letters that have gone out to scare the landlords into leasing the facilities to medical marijuana facilities. And we have filed a hardship exemption application that is part of what the ordinance, the moratorium that the LA City Council have put into effect last year. And ours is on the shelf along with several dozen others that are pending, and they need to be brought in front of the City Council for approval. And everybody's afraid to do that because of the climate of this and because of the scariness of it and what everybody knows. And I'm here today to kind of put a face to that, to let you know that, there are people that are doing it right. And, the people of the state of California voted on it, and it is legal. And the city of Los Angeles does issue licenses. There are guidelines. I know that
Thank
this
you,
is
Mr. Sheftel. Your time
in
is
the middle
up.
of it, but I would hope that I can meet with all of you at some point.
Sir, your time is up. Let me just comment on that the city attorney's office is working with the police department, planning, building safety, other entities, and I authored a motion, and we are working to establish the guidelines for that according to the Attorney General, and we want to make this happen. The police department is supportive of legitimate use of that for medical purposes, and we are working to that end. So I want to assure you and the other people who are utilizing medicinal marijuana for legitimate purposes, we are working with the city entity to make that happen. Thank you for your comment, sir.
Very much.
Mr. Hanson, Arthur Hanson.
Apparently, I couldn't comment on the in lieu and as-needed positions for the city of Los Angeles. I've been in the in lieu position for 17 years. I'm supposed to be supervising a crew. I haven't officially supervised a crew in 17 years. The Sierra Rule number 18 requires that people working in lieu positions have their positions evaluated on an annual basis. Mine has not been so. Being that happening, that means that for 18 years the city has incurred a liability for signing me out of class. I'm presently doing the duties generally done as a mechanical or as a maintenance laborer. It's and the other issue is I've written letters to the Department of Personnel General Manager. She has refused to answer them since December, which is a violation of due process and Section 4.401C of the City Administrative Code. I've written letters to Councilmember Parks describing my problem and some of the other problems. He hasn't answered them. I've written letters to the mayor, about 3 letters. I've got 1 answer. Now, it's a matter of due process and petitioning government for redress. They don't do it. The liability increases to the city of Los Angeles for retaliation. A gentleman named Hill, working for the LAPD, got $3.1 million. I assume if and when I decide to take my case to court, I'll get somewhere between 1 and 5. Do something. Don't sit there. It's our tax dollars. I'm a city employee and a city resident for over 60 years. Please get this stuff cleaned up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Michael Carrion.
Yes, my name is Michael Carrion. I'm from the 14th District. And I just want to make something clear so we don't get a little misunderstood. I tried to avoid coming here. I called Mr. Weezar's office on Wednesday to see if he had a few minutes to meet with me. I haven't heard back, so I guess I got to come here to share my experiences. 2 years ago, we started with Mr. Weezar's staff about the illegal dumping of hundreds or thousands of square yards of soil on a hillside. Today, all we have are 2 sandbags too high. I guess Mr. Weezar's office is too busy in Boyle Heights to worry about El Sereno. I also called Mr. Weezar's office for a family that was going to be homeless. Mr. Weezar talks about the homeless that he's doing so much about, yet one family in El Sereno went homeless and his office failed to do anything about. Yet Mr. Weezar talks about how great he's doing. You all know that my pet peeve is parking in the red. Yet Mr. Weezar's staff feels that they're exempt from this. We understand that the police department imply that every time they park in the red it's an emergency, but I don't know why staff members of Mr. Weezar's would have an emergency to park in the red. I call that just being lazy. So I ask myself, where are we at? I'd like for somebody in here to let Mr. Weezar know that El Sereno is part of the 14th District. I do understand that he was born and raised in Boyle Heights, but he came to our community and asked for us to help him get elected, and now he's forgotten about us. Thank you.
Mr. Weezer?
I just want to make for the record, I wanted to thank Mr. Carrion again this week, as I do every week, for coming to this council and apprising us of what's going on in El Sereno. There was some allegations made about my staff parking in red, and we have a new constituent service center there in El Sereno, and thankfully, after years of waiting, we brought the constituent service center there. As we make adjustments to parking in that area, we had to initially do some parking in the red with the approval of the local police department. And as always, Mr. Carrion, my staff spent about 2 or 3 hours with you on the phone last night. In a week, we estimate we spend about 10 hours on the phone with you in person. We are always available to you. You're laughing right now, Mr. Carrion, because you know very well that you just come here to put on a show. We're always available for you, Mr. Carrion. Thank you, and I'll wait for you next week as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment from Candido Morez. Candido?
Thank you, Mr. President, council members. I want to thank you all for being here. We appreciate the fact that you take the time to come here to the San Fernando Valley. And if you'll notice, I'm wearing my red, white, and blue tie in honor of Mr. Guy Gabaldon, a great American from the 14th District, and I will continue to do that until he is honored for his heritage, for his heroics during World War II. One of the things that I've always enjoyed, even though we've suffered a lot of tragedy in my family, I've never, ever would want to leave this city. It's one of the greatest cities because of the people that we meet here. And I want to talk about someone, James Cordero, who's in the hospital. He's very ill, and I know most of you know him, and I hope that you'll pray for him that his health will get better. But yesterday we had a new farmer's market, and it was started by a woman by the name of Penny Myers. And people here in the Van Nuys will never give up until they rebuild, renew, and revitalize Van Nuys. So I can just talk about a number of people, and I'm not just talking about the Valley. We have people in the 14th District, 15th District. We have a woman in Miss Janice Hans, who's in charge of the DWP committee. So I just want to say and mention it to you that it's great to live in this city. We have to work together, and there are a lot of people that love the city who are doing everything they can to make the quality of life better in this city. So thank you very much for being here, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you. Pat, looks like it's Barney or Barry.
Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, my name is Patricia Berry. I'm an attorney of 33 years. I argued the first sexual harassment case in the U.S. Supreme Court. Standing next to me is Sarah Roper, a dedicated DWP employee who has suffered sexual harassment. She filed an in-house complaint, and DWP, the Department of Water and Power, for this 20-year employee, found that her co-worker had engaged in sexual harassment. He should be disciplined. She tried to settle in-house. She didn't want to sue the DWP. She wanted to get on with her career. DWP refused to settle. She found me. She retained me. We went into court. So what did Delgadillo do? He hired an attorney named Jed Silverstrom. We don't know his status. Now, I want to talk about the legal process because it's bleeding the taxpayers. This is a message to the taxpayers, and I hope they're listening to me. Jed Silverstrom, we can't tell what his status is. Private attorney, city attorney. He tells a story that's different to every judge he appears in front. What impact does it have on the city attorney? On the taxpayers? We don't know what he's getting paid. What Silverstrom told the court under oath in my lawsuit is that he's getting $250 an hour. Annualized, that's $520,000. Did Delgadillo write this guy a paycheck to go into a court, tell a jury that DWP is all wrong, and that the sexual harassment finding for my client just ignore? Is that a bridge to nowhere or what? Now let's talk about what else he did. Delgadillo violated the state law and gave a free legal defense to the sex harasser. State law, I repeat, taxpayers, state law says you got to be acting within the course and scope of employment, and you have to be a supervisor. The co-worker, the courts have said repeatedly, sexual harassment found by DWP in favor of my client is never acting within the course and scope of employment. Now, we've seen an article where Delgadillo handed $1.2 million. Delgadillo is bleeding the taxpayers to the detriment of the taxpayers. Sarah Roper, is a dedicated worker.
Ma'am, thank you. Your time is up. Thank you for your comments and your appearance today. We'll go to the Valley for Pamela Hanna and Matt Dowd downtown. Pamela Hanna and Matt Dowd to downtown.
I'm here at City Hall. Okay. Good morning, members of council. I am Pam Hanna with the Southwest Museum and Autry National Center. I'm thrilled to share today's Los Angeles Times editorial supporting Measure J, the LA Community College bond. As you may know, the Community College District is setting aside some funds from that bond for the Southwest Museum site as a part of a partnership between the Autry and the district. The Mount Washington residents, you continually show up before you oppose the bond. They oppose everything we're doing. And often what they say is untrue. It's myth, not fact. But now you don't have to take just my word for it. The LA Times this morning says very clearly that these opponents, and I quote, have alleged that supporting Measure J would transform the museum into a campus. But that's simply not true. The district is only setting aside funds should space become available. If that happens, classrooms would supplement the museum, not replace it, and building them would represent an entirely legitimate use of this small portion of the bond proceeds. That neighborhood disagreement should not be an excuse to scuttle a measure so important to the entire Los Angeles area. We at the Autry and Southwest Museum couldn't agree more. I encourage you to come to the Southwest Museum to see great improvements that we're making there. We're in the middle of an historic preservation process for the building and the collection, and when we reopen, the site will be a thriving cultural and educational center for the City of Los Angeles. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Matt Dowd, please.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, Van Nuys. I'm downtown today. Nice to be back on Channel 35. Let me talk about a couple of things. First, Michael Carrion. See, I have the same problem as him right now. If you come to City Council, comment one time, then you're a flash in the pan and they don't take any notice. Once you come more than once, a few times, then you're a gadfly, then you're just annoying, then they stop listening. So I understand, and he's got some valid issues, and I don't like the way they go, oh yeah, he just comes all the time. It's because you're not solving any of the problems. Now here's a problem, Mr. Zine. Thanks for taking this up with the police department. I was down on Venice Beach, and apparently it's illegal to be 6 foot tall now on the beach, because I'm getting taken to court, prosecuted for having a microphone that's over 4 feet tall, and unfortunately, that's how tall I am. So that's a total prior restraint. The attorneys are dumb. The lady up there, hello, talking about Rocky, you're exactly 100% right. He's dumb. You look up pathetic in the dictionary, and there he is. Rocky Delgadillo, it's as pathetic as it gets. His wife's as shoggy as hell.
The speaker is getting into personal
City Attorney, go ahead.
issues. The speaker should discuss only municipal issues and not personal issues.
Mr. Dowd, do you understand that, sir?
On the performance of the city attorney, it's pathetic. His performance is pathetic. Now give me back my time. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. You know, it makes me angry because you're getting me for Hannah Montana. This is part of the ticket too. Hannah Montana is going to court with me because the city of Los Angeles says she's too tall. So thank you, City Council, for not reining in your dumb attorneys, because they're going to make us rich. Because look at I've already got a federal case. The judge already said we won, and your attorneys are telling you that we lost.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Your time is up. Back here to Van Nuys. Dr. Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope that when I finish, somebody from Mr. Smith's office can connect with me. I'm sorry to see he's not here. What I have to bring to you relates to a problem mostly in his area and partly in Mr. Zine's area. I'm here as the chairperson of the Santa Susana Mountain Area Committee of the West Hills Neighborhood Council. For the last 4 years, 5 years even now, we've been concerned with the contamination that was caused on top of Santa Susana Mountain by a series of owners of the Santa Susana Field Lab. I'll pause for a moment and ask for a little attention, please.
Mr. Weissman, the council's in session, and
The council
please
is
proceed.
not in session when you're not listening to the public commenters.
Well, Mr. Weissman, we are in session.
We
We're
come here
we're listening.
with honesty and with urgency to try to present our cases to you. I would like to read from the resolution that was passed on Wednesday evening this week by the West Hills Board of Directors. In light of past and recent findings, we ask the Department of Toxic Substance Control, again, to delay the no further action decision for the Centex homes until we have a new and more thorough evaluation of the mountain. We ask the City Council, and this is directed to you, and each of you have a copy of this. We ask the City Council, and specifically our members, Greg Smith of CD12 and Dennis Zine of CD3, to review this matter, make it public and thorough, and take appropriate action to protect us from our environment. Protect us and our environment, excuse me. The committee continues to invite your participation and the participation of all parties in these deliberations. We believe that we must all come together and work together in our efforts to
Mr. Weissman, your time is up. Thank you, sir. Mr. Nightingale, our next speaker, Rick Nightingale. And my staff will follow up with Dr. Weissman on that matter.
Yeah, good morning, Rick Nightingale. I couldn't believe when I read the paper last week regarding a port contract oversight. I think you ought to take their calculators away, because I think that they better start learning longhand or something, because I cannot believe that they can't figure out a contract. I mean, you put it down in paper what you're going to do and what you're going to accept, and you do it. I was in business years ago, and we made a mistake of about 10 grand in 74. What do you think that's worth now? About 60,000? And we ate it because we made a mistake. We didn't come back to this thing saying, well, we can't do this job because you owe us money and we forgot to put in something. And you people just pay the bill and let it go. Boy, I think you need to do something about these contracts, or get somebody that knows how to read a contract. I mean, just promote these people and they just don't know what they're doing. And then about this housing thing. I cannot believe that the mayor is pushing this $5 billion housing thing through the state and the government. I said this before. You turn around and the city is going to be liable for $200 million a year. Where are you going to get this money? Right now you want $100 million a year, and we're having problems, and he thinks you're going to get $200 million a year. I'd like to know where you're going to get it. We turn around, our streets are tore up. Our curbs are tore up. Our trees don't get trimmed. Where is all these police going to come from for another 20 million people that they think that they're going to have? Where do you think you're going to put them? I have no idea. This city is getting so large, and you think that we're supposed to pick up the tab if you're making more than How many people here make over $90,000 a year, except for the council? I don't know. But anybody that makes under $90,000 a year is going to get help. This is crazy. I mean, people, they're lucky if they're making $40,000 a year. I don't know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Christina Walsa? I think that's the pronunciation of the last name. It's hard to fill out.
Walsh.
Walsh.
Good morning. My name is Christina Walsh. I founded cleanuprocketdyne.org in 2001 about the impacts of the Santa Susana Field Laboratory. The Santa Susana Field Lab is one of the most important nuclear facilities with regard to our race to space, and is very relevant to the discussions that are going on in today's issues with renewable energy. There is no safe way to produce nuclear energy and store hazardous waste. An estimated release from the 1959 meltdown is thought to be 240 times that of 3 Mile Island, and the impacts from this and other spills and releases will be felt for thousands of years. The decisions on how this is or is not cleaned up are being made today. And the city of Los Angeles is a party to that in the recent lawsuit that mandated that the Area 4 portion owned by the Department of Energy be redone basically in an environmental impact statement. We're working closely with those parties and doing a background study now, and we would like to invite the city of Los Angeles to be part of that discussion because the background study is really about what you clean this site up to. So it's relevant to all of us and to the future of our future generations. I would like to respectfully invite all members of this council to our book opening. We have written a book called The Santa Susana Field Laboratory. This will be on October 10th at our museum, which we opened on May 9th in Chatsworth. And I would like to leave these cards as an invitation. This is volume 1 this is a photographic book and the importance of how we get together on this as a city, as a community, to protect the future of this community. The Dayton Canyon no further action decision, as Dr. Weissman mentioned with the Santa Susana Mountain Area Committee, is an important one that we feel the city needs to weigh in on and be very careful about looking forward to how we develop the areas around this site before we understand it.
Your time is up, Ms. Walsh. Thank you.
May I turn these papers
Yes, you
in?
can tell us the Sergeant at Arms. He'll take those from you.
Thank
He's
you very
approaching now. Thank you. William Bowling, our final speaker on public comment.
That one's stuck there. I'm sorry. That and that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is William Bowling, and along with Ms. Walsh, I co-founded the Aerospace Cancer Museum of Education. And I'd like to welcome you all to the San Fernando Valley, and thank you, Mr. Garcetti. I had the great chance of meeting you several times. My wife is Roxy Cotton from the Los Angeles Derby Dolls, and I'd like to tell you about the Santa Susana Field Laboratory, and it sits above the hills on Roscoe. If you take Roscoe right to the end on the hill there, it's in Ventura County, but it very well impacts Los Angeles. It is the headwaters to the LA River in several different ways. The Santa Susana Field Laboratory, all its nuclear areas drain into Bell Creek, which is the headwaters to the LA River. Through a 2-year study that we did, the groundwater extraction systems, the pump and treat systems that NASA and the Boeing Company have been implementing, have been turned off since the year 2000. And the year 2000 was the same year that the Chatsworth Train Tunnel number 26 installed their 70 sump pumps to dewater the ground watering that was impacting the railroad ties in there, and it's draining into Chatsworth Park South, which is a LA City park that is now shut down because of high volatile organic compounds in the ground and lead as well. And I feel that this could be a potential violation of the Clean Water Act, and Mr. Zion, it would be helpful if we could get together with Ms. Walsh and all of us and Dr. Daniel Weissman from the West Hills Neighborhood Council and talk about these issues. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. I know my office and the city's environmental affairs have been monitoring that along with the United States Senator Feinstein. There's been a number of reviews by a number of agencies and departments, and I live in that area, so I'm sensitive to the concerns that you expressed. So it's a concern not only to the residents of the Valley, but all the city. We thank you for your comments, and my staff is definitely working on this with your group and the other groups that are involved in this. So we appreciate your attendance here today. Thank you. That concludes our public comment period. Madam Clerk, our next item, please.
Next is item number 1, and there is a card on this item.
Item number 1, we have a card. Well, actually, I think we have more than one. Mr. Sachs, Mr. Dowd, Downtown City Hall. So we'll go to downtown to hear from Mr. Sachs and Mr. Dowd on item number 1.
Yes, good morning, Arnold Sachs. Thank you very much. I'm really curious to find out what the status is with the Grand Avenue project and the thresholds that were initiated again in that project for that improvement. It seems that they weren't capable of meeting the thresholds for developing that project.
Mr. President, these comments are not germane to this agenda item.
Excuse me, Mr. City Attorney, I was in City Council chambers on the 9th of September.
Mr. President, I don't believe these are germane to the street lighting.
Madam Clerk, will you read the item that is up? Item number 1.
Item number 1 is hearing protests against proposed improvement and maintenance of the Grand Avenue and 12th Street number 1 lighting district.
Okay, this deals with the lighting district in that area. Mr. Sachs, if you have comments regarding the lighting district, we'd be happy to receive them. If not, we will move on to the next speaker. Mr. Sachs, regarding the lighting district.
On Grand Avenue, sir?
Yes, sir.
I was in council chambers when the city council considered a contract for signage at the convention center. An item on your agenda, and I will read from you the agenda item. Trade and Commerce Tourist Committee relative signage proposal with the LA Arena Land Company Incorporated. During that hearing, not one time was the LA Arena Land Company mentioned, yet the city attorney allowed the hearing to go on. So I am speaking in relative...
Mr. President, he's still not germane to this
That's not germane to this subject. It's about the lighting district, Grand Avenue and 12th Street on the lighting district. That's what we're discussing. If you have concerns on that, please express them. If not, we will move on to the next speaker, Mr. Dowd.
Remain to the city attorney's argument that I'm not on the agenda, and I am on the agenda item as speaking regarding Grand Avenue.
Well, no, it's about the lighting district.
Well, this
And that's
is
the
regarding a
concern.
lighting district on Grand Avenue.
Have your
that
comments,
the,
have
that
your
the Grand
comments
Avenue
directed toward
project
lighting
will be
district.
able to-
And your time is running, sir. Your
As
time
always,
is...
the city council can whizzle and worm their way around whatever they want. And
Okay,
have
Mr. Sachs,
comments.
thank you. Your time is done. Mr. Dowd, on item number 1 regarding the lighting district.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just take 1 minute on this one, please. And yeah, I've talked about these before, and this is where the city comes and they want to improve, update, and maintain the lighting in a specific area. Obviously, this one's Grand Avenue and 12th Street. But I have talked about how you can protest against these updates and these maintenance contracts because they end up, you really never get what you pay for with the city of Los Angeles. So here's obviously some protests being reported, so they're holding this one over, and that's why I want to thank these people for listening to Matt Dowd on Channel 35. You don't have to take everything they dish up on your doorstep. So if you don't like these assessments for the lighting in your district, then you can protest, go to a meeting, do what me and Zuma Dog do, go to LA Daily Blog, and you can learn about all the shady and corrupt systems that the city of Los Angeles has in place.
Thank you. That matter is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Matter passes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next is item number 15, and that was called special by Councilmember Weezer, and there is a card on this item.
Mr. Sachs on item number 15. And special, Mr. Weezer. Mr. Sachs, you want your comment on item number 15, please?
Item 15.
And then we'll go to Mr. Weezer for the comments.
I'm curious to know, since this item was put down as already been heard in public comment, why we're allowed to comment on it again, but I'm glad to be able to do that. Maybe the city attorney can explain that in his, when he gives an opportunity. It is listed as already been held in hearings. But I would like to find out...
Actually, I'll take that as an invitation to say that it was mistakenly stated that you could have public comment on this today. So if you want to stop talking, that'd be fine.
Since the Transportation Committee hearing waived consideration, then no public comment would have been heard, sir. And if no public comment would have been heard, then it should be allowed for public commentary. But nevertheless, to Twitter along with you is exercise in futility. My concerns are the LADOT and their commuter express and the fees that are generated there, and the fact that the LADOT is running commuter express outside the city limits, yet the LADOT, the dash lines are being cut and the services are being eliminated inside the city limits. Please explain how the LADOT, when they have their meetings, where they have their meetings, are they open to the public, and how we can comment on why the LADOT, which was formed as an afterthought after the RDT and the LACTC were combined, how the city delivers bus service outside city limits when they can't and they will and when they can't continue bus service within the limits. Again, thank you for your time, your answers, and your attention.
Thank you. Mr. Dowd, I understand, wants to speak on this matter, and then we'll go to Mr. Weezer. Downtown, Mr. Dowd.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk, for putting that through for me. I'll just take a minute on this one, too, because I've got a couple of other items. But I'm Matt Dowd from Venice Beach. The city took away my First Amendment for a year, so now I'm just here to check that I still have it.
It's still not germane to this.
So I'm about to sue the city attorney because he's always interrupting, taking away my
Still not
comment.
germane to this item.
So anyway, I want to talk about the Department of Transportation, and I'm happy that Wendy Gruhl, if you're there, Wendy, I know you're doing a good job on the committee, and things are probably going to turn around in this department if you can get your hands on it, or if you're the controller, you can get an eye on some of these things. But it's the same old thing, fee adjustments. You know, it's very vague, recover the cost of services and, you know, application fees, create ordinances. It's very shady, but Wendy, I'm going to be watching you. I hope you can get everything in order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Mr. Weezer. Item number 15,
Thank
sir.
you very much, Mr. President. Is there someone here from the Department of Transportation? I just have a couple of questions on this. We all know that the city is moving towards getting full cost recovery for the services provided, and I want to thank the Department of Transportation for doing that in this request for a ordinance by the city attorney to do so. But one of the things I wanted to make sure is that in capturing the actual costs, will some of these fees, or how will some of these fees impact your single-family homeowner who is doing a addition, change to their home? How would it impact them, if at all?
Good morning. Sean Hyrie from Department of Transportation. These fees are for performing services to developers who are required by the city and the size of the development to perform a traffic study. When you're doing an addition to your single-family home, there is no traffic study requirement, so these fees or permits do not really apply. These are for developments. And we have some areas of the city, like the Coastal Corridor and the West LA, where we have specific plans, and there are fees that are paid for development activities in those areas, but again, single-family homes are not part of those.
Oh, good. I wanted to make sure we're not affecting them. And most of those requests are not, do not, like you said, require a traffic study. Now, how much are we increasing these fees by? Generally, what's the average? Are we in the 10, 20% range, 100% range? What are we increasing these fees by?
Actually, in the past, we were only collecting fees for traffic study reviews, and that fee was in the range of $6,800, but we are raising that to $73. But to be compliant with the City Council and the Mayor's directives to achieve full cost recovery, we are actually adding a number of items that we weren't collecting fees for in the past to be able to recover the staff time that's spent on providing these services. If you look at the table in attachment A, which is the ordinance, there are items from A through J, and we only had number C before. So these are all new fees that we'll be collecting from developers who come in and need our services to be able to complete a development project.
So these are mostly new fees?
They're mostly new fees. There's only one that used to exist before, and we used to collect about $340,000 a year on average for those activities. But with these new fees, we'll be able to collect an additional almost $1 million in staff salaries.
So if these are new fees, to get this straight, we have a policy intent to get full cost recovery for our services. And here we're saying these are some services that we've been providing for years, or we've always provided. Now we want to make sure that the city is recouping whatever it costs us to do personnel and reports, et cetera, on those items.
Correct.
Is that what we're coming down to? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Gruhl, Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Zine. And so this was the increase that we have. I think it was indicated, in the report, a an increase of $999,699, or 499. So we're only getting half, right? Is that half of that 900 and?
Well, first of all, let me qualify that number. The way we arrived at these fees is basically look at the workload for the past 2 years, kind of average it out, see what staff time was spent. So although these numbers aren't so rounded, but they are estimates, and the economy and the reduction in development can affect it. But if these fees are approved by the end of the year and, going through the holidays, we anticipate collecting half of that for the remainder of the fiscal year.
For the remainder of the fiscal year. And was this part of our budget, or is this separate from the budget? Or was this an instruction? My memory's not so good on this one. If we instructed this during the budget process.
This was actually an attempt by the department to comply with your directives outside the budget process.
Outside the budget process. Okay. So the potential is, if everything being equal from last year, it's about $500,000 that we were unanticipated, if it's a half year.
Correct.
Unanticipated revenue. Okay.
Correct.
Which is great. The second part of this is I just wanted to use this time to mention that we're also coming forward with, and Mr. Reyes, as far as the expediting kind of consolidation. Right now, you can go into planning and building and safety and have an expediting fee that helps pay for some of the overtime and different things, and then it gets stuck because DOT doesn't have the same process. And so we introduced a motion to, in fact, put that in place.
Correct.
And so similarly, that will be a little bit of an increased revenue to pay for cost recovery. Correct?
Correct. The department is actually putting in place, and Selwyn Hollins, our assistant general manager, is actually implementing systems where we can collect these fees that developers are more than willing to pay to get their services expedited, and put them in a separate account, because in the past, even though we could collect these funds, they weren't directed to the department, so we couldn't really work on overtime and expect to get paid. So now with these new changes, when they're implemented, we will be able to provide those services much better now.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we've asked all the departments to do the same thing. What you've done is look at our fee structure and if we are getting full cost recovery. And I want to thank the department for coming forward and potentially having the cost recovery of close to $500,000, if not more, in this next year. So thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank
you, Mr. Zine.
Thank you. You're welcome. Mr. LaBonge?
Just a question. Are these fees posted on our city's website?
These fees aren't approved yet. If the city attorney...
If they approve them,
yes.
Are they then posted on it?
They will be amending the LAMC, and they will be available online too.
But they'll be posted. They
Yes.
won't be available. Just posted. It will say this is what it costs to do things. Members, the question I have is, will we pay fees till we get the service? Just a follow-up to what Mr. Gruhl was saying. Mr. Reyes has a lot of thought on this here. I understand we have to cost, but then the impact on people who want to do something in their city. I know of two people who've been trying to open a simple business, maybe not smaller. You see where Julie's sitting right there? Maybe not from the podium to where Julie sits is a little space they want to rent, about as big as this. And it's 9 months into the project of trying to achieve the opportunity to open small business. I'm just concerned that the city is not as, we talk about being as good as we are, and I talk it probably maybe as more as anybody does. But are we really being that good when we make people jump through hurdles? There's a business on Largemont they wanted open, fill a storefront. And it's taken 10 months to get approval. What happens when someone walks into the public counter right here and they see these fees and others? How fast could we deliver to the people we serve?
Well, we always do the best we can, as you know. These fees will help recover our costs so that when we do have vacancies, we are able to justify filling those vacancies and be able to provide the services.
But these are building and safety fees, correct?
No, these are Department of Transportation.
Department of Transportation.
These are the Planning Bureau fees.
Right. In the organizational charts for your departments, do you have a way you could designate that position is fee supported?
Yes. People who will be working on development review activities are identified, and their salaries are accounted for in the the D time that we.
I don't want to see us create two classes of systems, which happens often when you do this here. But I do want to make sure that we're fair to the people that we serve on that, and the department is. Everybody's under pressure. Everybody wants it now. how much pre-approval do we go through on these projects? Because sometimes it's good to have a meeting before to see what you have to do when you actually file.
Actually, we do have a process where developers come in and meet with us before they start the project, and we tell them what's required of them, and we decide on the kind of impact they may or may not have, and whether or not they're required to do a traffic study. We always try to expedite and find a way to get developers going and advise them if they don't need to do it.
And have you ever heard of a challenge where you, same public counter, but on Wednesday you talk to one person, and they come back the following Thursday, and they get a definite answer? Have you ever heard that complaint?
Not from us, because we only have one individual at the counter.
Good, good, okay. Well, all right, I appreciate that. This is just a thing we should focus on. We should be fair to the people that we serve. I think on all types of improvements, and not just in developments, but improvements to a community that brings jobs and commerce in the proper zoning should certainly receive the attention necessary to get the doors open to bring life to a community. Thank you for your service to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Reyes.
I thank you, Mr. LaBonge, for putting some light on a subject that would have just, a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
I'm on transportation, obviously on budget. This full cost recovery, if I'm reading the summary right, in this particular instance, basically says, if approved as proposed, the amended fees would increase salaries recovered to the general fund from $344,000 to $1,370,000, an increase of roughly $1 million. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do we then establish some form of folder file concept so that we can watch this all the way through the project? One of the things I learned since I came in office was a lot of projects were approved in my district. A lot of transportation mitigating monies were supposedly put in. A lot of stop signs or red lights or this or that or the other. But the follow-up on what happened or didn't happen sometimes was faulty, or the records weren't clear enough, or there were 2 or 3 departments and they weren't all tying themselves together enough. Does this move us in that direction of tying it all together so that a project, I don't want to mention any particular ones, but are we able then to say, yes, the project happened, yes, we got full recovery for every aspect of it, not just your department, but the planning department and all of that, and of course, most importantly, were the mitigating monies actually used for that particular project? That's my first big question. And the second one, tied with it, is you might have a project down the street, you might have a project over there, but in my district, it's all tied together. We're in total gridlock now. It's a disaster, the 11th district, for gridlock. It is beyond the pale. And that's because in the past, they'd approved one project here, one project there, but since it wasn't all tied together, it didn't become more of a master understanding of traffic mitigation issues. Those are my 2 big questions for you.
On your first question, we've actually, as part of this study, put in place a process where we keep close track of all the projects that come in, all the staff time spent. We've developed a software in-house for our bureau where we keep track of when the projects come in, when they're processed, when the fees are deposited, when those fees are being spent, and on what. And we're going to be keeping a very close eye on how we perform since we're collecting all these fees now, and how we spend the project fees or tree fees that are collected. So we do have a system developed, and we are completing it as we speak. On your second question, as you know, in your district, we have a couple of specific plans that are due for updates. Right. And currently, I'm working on finalizing an RFP to update the coastal corridor specific plan. In addition to the motions that you remember you had issued like a year or so ago for us to look at the west side mobility, rail connectivity, livable boulevards. Yeah. As you recall, I worked with Greek and Laura, and we consolidated all those motions. Right. I'm currently working with Mr. Sadadi, our Assistant General Manager in Parking, to add a parking element to that study. So We will be undertaking a comprehensive study of the whole west side. We will have two major deliverables in our RFP. One is for the coastal update, and the other for the West LA Mobility Program. And we are working closely with city planning to make sure that we don't duplicate each other's work and we complement one another's efforts in this manner.
I certainly appreciate that, and you've been great, and everybody's been great. And I love what Laura has done, and Grieg and my staff, and Mike Bonin especially, who helped figure it all out. And we grabbed $11 million sitting in these mitigating funds and are flushing it through various aspects in the district to go forward with it.
And I'm currently working with Councilman Wise's staff, Paul Backstrom, to come up with that parking element that we're going to be adding to those motions and include that in the West Side Mobility, because you really can't do a mobility study without looking at the parking. And,
Right. And that's so key. And for instance, the parking we found on the back of Abbott Kinney there in Electra been sitting fallow ever since Pat Russell came along. And now on the 20th of October, we're actually going to start the construction of creating that set of parking spots that are critical for the community.
Correct. And Mr. Sadati is actually looking at that very closely, and we're working with him to make that a part of the RFP that's going out.
Just a sidebar, in the Oxford Triangle, we have this big development that popped up. My community is very upset because some of the discussions on mitigating issues came after things were approved. So the developer doesn't feel obligated. The community is upset. I'm upset. We wanted to get an alarm system put in. We couldn't do that. These are the kinds of details that happen after the fact that we know we need to either get the developer to do it or somehow work with it.
And again, we are revamping our whole process in the Bureau of Transportation Planning. Rita is going to be focusing on our bureau this coming year, and she has promised to put in place all the staffing needs and all the processes that we need to go through to make sure that everything is looked at before progress is made.
Okay, and one other thing I want to make sure, when we did overnight parking in Playa del Rey, Section 27, and up in Will Rogers, all of a sudden we heard there wasn't money to do it and it would be delayed. I want to take some of that money and get it done now so that we can follow through on our commitment to our constituents.
Well, we're hoping that the parking element we're putting into the RFP that would come up with the recommendations as to how to manage the supply and demand of parking in the west side. Great. And that would be certainly a part of it.
Okay, and the last thing is the Green Line. As we approve Measure R, and I must say, colleagues, if we don't vote for Measure R, we can forget it. The gridlock will continue to get exacerbated. That half-cent sales tax for the county will bring in $30 or so billion. That can be the backdrop to federal and state money. We can actually get out of this mess we're in. We want to make sure it's very clear that the Green Line, not only going to the South Bay, is positioned and angled at the LAX area to go up Lincoln Boulevard into Santa Monica, so we have that north-south relief. So I'm hopeful that those discussions, which I know are ongoing with DOT and LAWA and with everything, are clear enough so that when people vote yes on R, we get what we believe we should get, which is the Green Line, not only into the airport, but up to Santa Monica and down in the South Bay.
Actually, Greg and I have been meeting with LAX the past few days,
Right.
a couple of times, and we're working on the extension of Green Line to LAX, and also in the RFP, your other motion for West Side connectivity, one of the things that's going to be studied is the extension of Green Line up to Santa Monica, and hopefully linking it with Expo and other proposed railways.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Thank you. Your time
Just
is-
thank you. This is wonderful. Appreciate
Thank
it
you.
very much. Appreciate your leadership, your support, and your department.
Mr. Reyes?
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. This is Falcon Powell to speak. It was referred to several times. We are working on a 12-to-2 system, and I want to thank DOT and the leadership of the different committees. We do have various departments, Public Works, Building and Safety, all coordinating with the Planning Department to have a process that's going to take advantage of technology. We'll all be working all from the same system so that every department knows what the other is doing. So as we're going through the mitigation process, we understand what that means. But just important, we have some reliability as to timing and hopefully actually some real expediting, since we'll minimize the number of times different entities need to go to different counters to get the permits and the processes. So I want to thank you for your support, and I want to thank Councilor McGrule and all the other committee chairs who are involved in this process. Gail Goldberg gave us a briefing a few weeks ago. We have various stakeholders in the conference room, and it looks like everyone is pleased with the progress. Now we need to see implementation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Thank you. Matter is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote. Matter passes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next is item 18, that was called special by Councilmember Labange, and there are cards.
We have number 18 cards from Arthur Hanson, Donna Perman, and Matt Dowd. We'll take the public comment first, if that's okay with you, Mr. Labange. Okay. Arthur Hanson, and then Donna Perman, and then we'll have to go downtown for Matt Dowd. In that order, please. Mr. Hanson.
As per my job assignment, I walk through the Parker Center parking lot around 5 o'clock every day, back and forth. I noticed about a half a dozen or so city-exempt vehicles with illegally tinted front and side windows on them, some of them belonging to the chief of police by the place they're parked into. I have a concern that whoever's driving those vehicles, or if they assess a fine, that party is going to be liable for damages for illegally driving an illegal vehicle. I've requested from the chief of police any exemption that he might have. There's a rumor that Homeland Security allows that. I requested from the police commission. I haven't heard anything from them either. Now, if you're going to support this, you're going to have to pass an ordinance for the city to compensate the drivers of these vehicles when they get cited for driving the police cars and city vehicles, including the mayor's vehicle, with illegally tinted windows, because the Highway Patrol said they would cite them if they should notice them. And it's an unsafe act that the chief of police is doing. And, or the other thing is, whoever's commanding person with the highest city rank in the vehicle that's being driven should pay the fine. Whichever. Anyway, enjoy yourself. I got to go catch my parking meter.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Donna Perman.
Anyway, I just wish everyone was nice as Councilman Rosendahl. He believes in free speech and song. This is another way of showing that the City Council loves to come up with new ways to fine us. It's not about safety, it's about getting more revenue. That's why we cannot trust our City Council with our gang tax, sales tax, voting on it. City Council's as bad as Wall Street. We can't bail them out. We can't bail out our city. I'm sure this will be badly written, not knowing what constitutes a tinted window, having the richer people with windows being heavily tinted not being fined, or like our police chief not being fined, or if the city councils, if they had tinted windows, they wouldn't be fined, and you just want to go after the poor population. So I know the drill. This is probably badly written like everything else is badly written. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have another card in Chuck Tenon, and then we'll go to City Hall for Matt Dowd.
Chuck Tenon. Illegally tinted windows. Is that moving or parking? And how do you plan to enforce it? And how much are you going to charge? The reason I ask, I brought up something. When I go and take the red line downtown, I've seen over 200 cars taking up 2 spaces. And I brought it up, and there should be a fine for that because that represents hundreds of thousands of dollars. And guess what? I was told that it went through, but who enforces it? And yet, on something like this, on tinted windows, if they're parked or they're moving, or vehicles that take up 2 parking spots, all of this should be enforced. What are you going to charge? How are you going to do it? Put up signs? I don't know, but I see it. Next Wednesday when I go down, I'll see a lot of tinted windows parked, and I'll see a lot of cars taking up 2 spots. And all these things there represent revenue because people are violating something. And guess what? It's good because it does bring revenue, and it justifies things that are bad, but how do you plan to enforce it? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Matt Dowd at City Hall.
Yeah, thank you. Got to weigh in on this one from LeBone and Weezer. It's a great day in the city of Los Angeles. Let's all chest pump ourselves because we're going to take the tints off all the windows so Mr. LeBonge can walk down the street and see what everyone's got in the back of their car. But no, I'm serious because there's a lot of people out there who have their rear windows tinted and for good reason. The very reason I said people have merchandise, goods, equipment, musical instruments, and other items which they do not want to be seen. Obviously, you walk by a car and you see something and you think, wow, let me just smash that and grab it. That's how I think. No, I'm just kidding. Channel 35, that's not how I think, but that's how some people think out there on the street. So, once again, Mr. LaBonge, too busy with these, circus show things, these resolutions. I'm saying vote no on this. We don't want to support this. Let the state they don't need the city to tell them how to do their window tinting. Why don't you take care of some other real issues like the homeless down here, Mr. LaBonge? Why don't you get Jan Perry onto that, Skid Row? But anyway, I'm all in favor of allowing tinting on windows of vehicles because it's practical. It's very hot here as well in Southern California. Shouldn't have to tell you that. The city attorney's performance is dumb today as well. I'm going to add that. Dion O'Connell.
He's way past being germane to the
All right. Mr. Dowd, either bring it back or thank you very much for your comments. Mr. LaBonge, Mr. Weezer. Mr. LaBonge, do you want to speak on this? Because Mr. Weezer is his button pushed.
Anyway, why put this motion in, members, is to see what the feeling is here. I know when I drive and there's a car in front of me with a tinted window, you cannot see through the vehicle. And when you can't see the vehicle, it does not allow the safety of having a full view of the area. I just think it's something to look at. And I don't know how everybody feels. I'd like to hear how everybody feels. If you think I feel wrong, state it. But I think when you tint all the windows, you cannot see it. And I want to maybe, if I could ask you, Mr. Zine, you're a Los Angeles police officer retired. You rode motorcycles for many years.
Not 150, but I did.
Is there any impact? Is there any discussion that you have in traffic safety that relates to tinted windows? You cannot see right now. If there was a
he's taking his coat off. I don't know if he's going to have it.
I know. Watch it. A rear window you could see through right now. The rear window. But you put tinted window glass up, you can't see through.
Mr. LaBonge, that's currently the state sanction on this. What this motion is calling for is a fine, to establish a fine. There's already laws in the California Vehicle Code regarding the tinted windows. You can tint the back window. You can't tint the driver, passenger, side windows. You can't tint the windshield, but the windows to the rear you can tint. But what this is calling for is a mandatory fine. I don't think it's calling for any modification.
Do they have a fine right now on the state law?
Well, either a fix-it ticket's fined
Ask
or...
the city attorney. Okay.
But there's already structure for enforcement, and there's already provisions on tinted windows.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm reading in this is simply to establish a fine for the violation, which is already under the California Code, a violation to have tinted windows in certain areas.
How about if I ask the maker of the motion, ask it to go to a public safety committee? I'd like to hear the Department of Transportation, and also
It'd be the police department.
Also, Dennis, the Los Angeles Police Department comment on this as well.
So you want to make a motion to send this to public safety for hearing?
I'll put the code on. Yeah, for further discussion. For further discussion.
Okay, let's go back. All right, so the motion is to send this to public safety, this particular matter number.
I get a sense
18.
from everybody. Am I getting a sense from everybody?
We can direct it to public safety for an appropriate hearing.
Thank you.
If that's the will. Mr. Weezer? Rules and government. We can send it to both. Mr. Weezer?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mr. LaBonge for bringing this forward because I do see a lot of cars out there, although we may have some fines associated with people who have tinted windows. I do see a lot of them out there, and sometimes when I'm walking in my neighborhood and a car's coming up with tinted windows and I want to see if the individual sees me before I start crossing the crosswalk, that's one of many other serious situations where I do think we need to address this and pay attention to it. So I think it's worth a discussion in public safety, whether what fines exist, what we can be advocating for, because it's a serious public safety issue that we need to have a good understanding and see what else we can do, or if not, if it's a state issue, what else the state should be doing on this matter. So thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Thank you. You're always bringing forward items that to some may seem basic, but are very important in terms of providing greater public safety for residents. Thank you.
And I will also make aware that there are some states that do permit the side windows to be tinted. In California, that's not permitted. So, Mr. LaBonge, you want to send this to Rules and Elections and Public Safety?
Correct.
So that's the matter before us. Without objection, the matter will go on item number 18. Thank you. We have one final item, number 19. Madam Clerk, number 19.
Number 19 is the deferred retirement, option plan.
And we have two public speakers on that, Arnold Sachs and Matt Dowd at City Hall.
I have concerns. There was an article in today's LA newspaper in which the retiring head of the department that oversees lasers threw himself an extravagant going away party, and my concern is this drop have any correlation with lasers? I understand that the director got a crystal bowl for retiring, and the public will always get the toilet bowl from the city council.
That will close our... Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Matt Dowd is our second speaker on this. Mr. Dowd? In City Hall. All right. It does not seem to be there. We'll close the public hearing for that. Any members wishing to be heard? If not, let's go ahead and please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved.
Mr. President, just
Yes.
for clarification, since this ordinance relates to retirement and pensions, this ordinance is over 30 days to November 4th.
Okay. That will carry over till the 4th of November. Next order of business, please.
There are motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
Mr. President, there are excuses on the desk.
Okay, let's run through those excuses.
Councilmember Weiss requests to leave at 11 a.m. on November 21st for personal business. This meets policy.
All right. Without objection, that will be approved. All right, we'll approve that.
Council
Next.
President Garcetti requests to leave at 11:15 a.m. on October 10th and to be excused on December 12th for city business. This meets policy.
He is excused.
And that clears the desk.
All right, colleagues, any quick announcements? Any business announcements? I think Ms. Hahn had her hand up, and then Mr. Labange?
No, I'm just...
Okay, adjourning motion. I'm sorry, Mr. Labange, go ahead.
The Tar Fest will be out at the Page Museum, a great celebration of the Miracle Mile. If you get lost in Los Angeles, get lost on the Miracle Mile, come and enjoy the Tar Fest. And on Sunday morning at 8 a.m., we'll have a great Miracle Mile foot race straight down Wilshire Boulevard from in front of the old Carnation Building all the way down to the front of the Page Museum and the County Art Museum. A straight race.
Thank you, Mr. Labange.
Exciting young people, young and old alike.
Mr. Reyes, could you give us an update on the playoffs?
Well, I want to thank Dennis Dine for reminding me, and I was hoping to bring his Dodger finger, the number one, but as you know, we're at the brink of another successful showing of the great Dodgers. So one more game, and that could be taking us to the next threshold. So everyone should celebrate the Dodger Blue, all the great players that are out there. But more importantly, the great spirit is bringing to this great city. Communities coming together, and hopefully we'll have another memorable year to celebrate and catch the World Series here in Los Angeles.
So may I ask you, Mr. Reyes, do you feel like we have potential for a true freeway series for our World Series against the Los Angeles Angels, the Angels of Los Angeles in Anaheim or whatever they're called?
Well, the California Angels of Los Angeles.
Right.
It's great that they have our name there. But I think it's going to be tough for them.
Right.
They haven't won one yet, right?
No, they've had some trouble with the Red Sox after we got Manny Ramirez. So,
all right.
We wish the Dodgers a lot of luck, and we know they'll bring home the first round victory.
But the freeway series would be fun.
It would be, for sure. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. If I could ask everybody to please rise for adjourning motions. Everybody in council chambers would please rise. This is the time we recognize those who have passed. And I'd like to recognize first Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can we adjourn today in the memory of Lester Kim,
who passed away September 20th at the age of 81. He was a South Bay resident for 47 years. Lester was instrumental in the creation of the South Bay Interfaith Council, an organization of more than 140 religious leaders, including those from the Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and Buddhist faiths. He was just honored last fall for his 50 years of work to improve relations between faiths. He served as pastor of several churches, including Palms Westminster Presbyterian Church. He also served in a number of high-ranking posts and headed numerous committees within the Presbyterian denomination. He's survived by his wife, Pearl, 2 sons, a daughter, a brother, and 6 grandchildren. Services are scheduled for this Sunday at 2 p.m. at the neighborhood church in Palos Verdes.
Thank you very much. Any other adjourning motions, colleagues? If not, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. We will next be in session this coming Tuesday, the 7th of October.